Story 1. After 12 years of working for other people, I finally saved enough to open my own salon. It's a small place with just 4 chairs, but it's mine. I spent months getting my business license, building client relationships, and establishing a reputation for quality work. Most of my clients book weeks in advance, which is exactly how I like to run things. I've always been strict about appointments. Hair takes time, and rushing leads to mistakes. When you're dealing with chemical processes like color treatments, there's no room for shortcuts. My regular clients understand this and respect my schedule. Last Tuesday afternoon, I was in the middle of a complex balayage on one of my longtime clients. We were 3 hours into what would be a 4-hour process, carefully painting highlights to create that perfect sun-kissed look she'd been wanting. I was just starting to rinse out the lightener when the front door chimed. A woman I'd never seen before walked in like she owned the place. She had that entitled energy some people carry, you know the type. She looked around impatiently while I continued working with my client. I'll be with you in just a moment. I figured she wanted to schedule an appointment or maybe buy some products. Instead, she marched right up to my station. Karen, I need my roots touched up right now. I have dinner reservations in an hour. I'm sorry, but I'm with a client right now. If you'd like to schedule an appointment, I have openings next week. Karen, next week? That's ridiculous. I need this done today. My client looked uncomfortable. I tried to keep things professional. I understand you're in a hurry, but all my services require appointments. Hair color can't be rushed safely. Karen, look, I'm a regular here. I shouldn't have to wait. That confused me because I'd never seen her before in my life. I'm sorry, but I don't recognize you. Are you sure you've been here before? Karen, of course I have. I come here all the time. She was lying, and we both knew it. My salon has been open for 8 months, and I remember every single client who's walked through that door. Ma'am, I think there might be some confusion. I'm the owner, and I know all my regular clients. I'd be happy to schedule you an appointment for next week when I can give you my full attention. Karen, this is unacceptable. The customer is always right. She was getting louder, and other clients in the salon were starting to stare. I needed to keep things calm. I understand you're frustrated, but I have a strict appointment policy for everyone's safety and satisfaction. I can fit you in next Tuesday at 2 o'clock if that works. Karen, I'm not waiting a week. Do you know who I am? No, I don't. But regardless, I can't take walk-ins when I'm in the middle of a chemical process with another client. That's when she completely lost it. She started yelling about customer service and threatening to leave bad reviews. Then she grabbed one of my expensive brushes from the counter and slapped it to the floor. The brush bounced and skittered under another station. My client's eyes went wide. The whole salon went dead quiet. I've dealt with difficult clients before, but physical aggression crosses a line that can't be uncrossed. Ma'am, I need you to leave immediately. Karen, what? You just knocked my professional equipment to the floor in anger. You're banned from this salon. Permanently. Karen, you can't ban me. I'm a paying customer. Actually, I can and I am. This is my business, and I don't tolerate aggressive behavior toward my staff or property. Karen, I haven't paid you anything yet. And you never will. Please leave now, or I'll call the police for trespassing. Her face turned bright red. Karen, this is the worst salon I've ever been to. Your customer service is terrible. The door is right behind you. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. My client let out a nervous laugh. Client, well, that was something. I'm so sorry you had to witness that. Some people think they can bully their way into getting what they want. I finished her balayage, and she left looking absolutely stunning. I thought that was the end of the drama, but I was wrong. The next morning, I found a 1-star review on my business page. It was a novel-length rant about how rude and unprofessional I was. claiming I refused to serve her because of discrimination and that my work was terrible. She even claimed she'd been a loyal customer for years. My regular clients started messaging me, asking what happened. The review was so over the top that most people could tell it was fake, but it still bothered me to see lies posted about my business. That's when I remembered my security cameras. I'd installed them when I first opened, and they record everything that happens in the salon. I pulled up the footage from Tuesday and watched the whole incident again. The cameras had captured everything: her lying about being a regular, her aggressive behavior, and her knocking my brush to the floor. I uploaded the relevant clips and submitted them to the review platform with an explanation of what really happened. The review was removed within 24 hours. Apparently, video evidence of someone lying in their review is grounds for immediate removal. The platform even sent me a message saying they'd flagged her account for posting false information. Sometimes entitled people think they can rewrite history to make themselves look like victims. Luckily, cameras don't lie, and my business reputation stayed intact. Story 2. I've been using a wheelchair for about 3 years now after a car accident left me paralyzed from the waist down. The adjustment period was tough, but I've gotten pretty good at navigating the world and advocating for myself when needed. One thing I refused to give up was my love for art museums. Before my accident, I used to spend entire weekends wandering through galleries, and I wasn't about to let my disability change that. The City Art Museum had just opened a new contemporary sculpture exhibit that I'd been excited to see. I checked their website to make sure everything was accessible, and they had great reviews for wheelchair users. I decided to go on a Tuesday afternoon since it would be less crowded, and I could take my time enjoying the pieces without feeling rushed. I'd been there for about an hour, slowly making my way through the different rooms. The exhibit was amazing: lots of interactive pieces and sculptures you could view from multiple angles. I was particularly drawn to this one installation that was designed to be experienced from different heights, so being in my wheelchair actually gave me a unique perspective that standing visitors couldn't get. I had parked my chair in front of a large abstract painting, taking some time to really study the brushwork and color choices. The museum was pretty quiet, with maybe a dozen other visitors scattered throughout the gallery. I was completely absorbed in the artwork when I heard someone clearing their throat behind me. "Karen, excuse me, but you're blocking the exhibit." I turned around to see this woman in her 50s, wearing expensive-looking clothes and carrying one of those tiny designer purses. She had this annoyed expression on her face like I'd personally ruined her day. Me, "Oh, I'm sorry. I can move if you'd like to get closer." I started to wheel myself to the side, but apparently that wasn't good enough for her. "Karen, that's not the point. Your wheelchair takes up too much space in here. Other people can't see properly when you're parked in front of everything." Me, "I'm just viewing the art like everyone else. The museum is designed to be accessible for wheelchair users." Karen, "Well, it shouldn't be. What if there's an emergency? Your chair would block the exits and put everyone in danger during an evacuation." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I've dealt with ignorant comments before, but this was on another level. Me, "Ma'am, I have just as much right to be here as you do. And wheelchairs don't block emergency exits. That's not how accessibility works." Karen, "Don't lecture me about accessibility. I'm trying to enjoy the museum, and your presence is disruptive." She was getting louder now, and other visitors were starting to stare. I felt my face getting hot with embarrassment and anger. "Karen, I'm going to find a staff member. This is completely inappropriate." Me, "Please do that." I figured once she talked to someone who actually knew the museum's policies, this would get sorted out quickly. Boy, was I right, just not in the way she expected. She marched off toward the information desk, and I sat there feeling frustrated and humiliated. A couple of other visitors came over to check if I was okay, which was nice, but I just wanted to enjoy the art without having to deal with people like her. About 5 minutes later, she came back with a young museum employee who looked very uncomfortable. "Karen, this is the situation I was telling you about. This person's wheelchair is blocking exhibits and creating safety hazards. Employee: Ma'am, I need to stop you right there. All of our exhibits are designed to be fully accessible to visitors using wheelchairs. There are no safety concerns with wheelchair access in our galleries. Karen: But what about evacuations? Those chairs are huge, and they move slowly. Employee: Our emergency procedures account for visitors with mobility aids. We have multiple wide exits and trained staff to assist anyone who needs help during an evacuation. Karen: This is ridiculous. I pay membership fees to come here, and I shouldn't have to deal with wheelchairs everywhere I go. The employee's expression went from uncomfortable to stern pretty quickly. Employee: Ma'am, what you're saying is discriminatory and against our museum's values. All visitors are welcome here regardless of their mobility needs. Karen: I want to speak to your manager. This employee is being rude to me. Employee: I'll get my supervisor, but I need to tell you that your behavior toward this visitor is completely unacceptable. The supervisor arrived a few minutes later, an older woman who clearly had experience dealing with difficult situations. Supervisor: I understand there's been some kind of complaint. Karen: Yes, this person in the wheelchair is disrupting everyone's museum experience and creating safety hazards. Supervisor: Ma'am, I need to inform you that what you're describing is disability discrimination, which is illegal and against museum policy. I'm going to have to ask you to stop harassing our visitor immediately. Karen: Harassment? I'm the one being harassed. I have rights too. Supervisor: You have the right to visit our museum, but you don't have the right to discriminate against other visitors based on their disability. Karen: I want a refund. This is the worst customer service I've ever experienced. Supervisor: I'm calling security. You need to leave the premises immediately. 2 security guards showed up within minutes. Karen was still ranting about her rights and how unfair everything was as they escorted her toward the exit. Karen: This is discrimination against me. I'm going to sue this museum. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. After she was gone, the supervisor came back over to apologize. Supervisor: I am so incredibly sorry about that incident. That behavior is absolutely not tolerated here. Me: Thank you for handling it so well. I was worried she might actually convince someone I was causing problems. Supervisor: Never. Our museum is committed to being accessible and welcoming to all visitors. Here's my card. I'd like to offer you a complimentary lifetime membership as an apology for what you experienced today. Me: That's really not necessary. Supervisor: It absolutely is. No one should have to deal with that kind of treatment when they're just trying to enjoy art. I ended up staying for another 2 hours and had a wonderful time. The staff checked on me a few times to make sure I was comfortable, and several other visitors approached me to say they were glad the museum had handled the situation properly. Sometimes the good people really do outnumber the bad ones. Story 3. My 12-year-old golden retriever has been my best friend since I adopted him as a puppy. Over the past few months, I'd noticed he was limping more and having trouble with stairs. My regular vet suspected hip dysplasia and referred us to a specialist surgeon about an hour away for a consultation. Getting that appointment was no joke. This surgeon only takes consultations 2 days a week and is booked solid for months. When I called in March, the earliest they could see us was late June. I marked it on my calendar in red ink and requested the day off work immediately. This wasn't just any appointment, it was potentially about my dog's quality of life for his remaining years. The morning of the appointment, I loaded my dog into the car extra early. I knew he got anxious at new places, so I wanted to give us plenty of time to get settled before his appointment time. The drive took longer than expected due to construction, but we still arrived 15 minutes early. I walked into the waiting room feeling optimistic. The receptionist looked up as I approached the desk. Receptionist: Hi there, are you here for an appointment? Me: Yes, I have a consultation scheduled for 11:30 under my last name. She typed something into her computer, then frowned. Receptionist: I'm showing that appointment was canceled about an hour ago. My heart dropped into my stomach. Me, that's impossible. I never called to cancel anything. Receptionist, let me pull up the notes. It says here that you called at 10:15 this morning saying you no longer needed the consultation. Me, I was driving here at 10:15. I've been waiting 4 months for this appointment. There's absolutely no way I would cancel it. The receptionist's expression grew more serious. She called over her supervisor, an older woman who looked like she'd seen everything. Supervisor, what seems to be the problem? I explained the situation while trying not to panic. My dog needed this consultation, and who knew when we'd be able to get another appointment? Supervisor, this is very strange. Let me listen to the voicemail from this morning. She pulled up the call on her computer and put it on speaker. I heard a woman's voice, clearly trying to sound like she was in a hurry. Voice on recording. Hi, this is calling to cancel my 11:30 appointment today. Something came up and I don't need the surgery consultation anymore. Me, that's definitely not my voice. Supervisor, I didn't think so. The caller also couldn't provide your dog's name or date of birth when we asked for verification. We flagged the account as suspicious. Just then, a woman burst through the front door with a small white poodle in her arms. Karen, excuse me, I called earlier about getting an emergency appointment. My poodle has a terrible rash and needs to be seen immediately. The supervisor and receptionist exchanged glances. Supervisor, ma'am, are you the person who called at 10:15 this morning? Karen, yes, I explained that this is an emergency. My poor poodle is suffering. Supervisor, and did you happen to call about canceling any other appointments? Karen's face went red. Karen, I don't know what you're talking about. I only called about my dog. The supervisor played the cancellation voicemail again. I watched Karen's expression change as she realized she'd been caught. Supervisor, this is your voice, isn't it? You canceled this person's appointment hoping we'd give you their slot. Karen, that's ridiculous. You can't prove anything. Me, actually, they just played a recording of you doing exactly that. Karen tried a different approach. Karen, look, my dog is in serious pain. This person's dog probably just needs a routine checkup. Mine is a real emergency. I looked down at her poodle, who was calmly looking around the waiting room and wagging his tail. Meanwhile, my dog was visibly uncomfortable, shifting his weight off his bad hip. Supervisor, ma'am, impersonating another client to steal their appointment is fraud. We're going to have to ask you to leave. Karen, you can't be serious. I'm a paying customer. Supervisor, not anymore. You're being permanently banned from this clinic. We'll be reporting this incident to the veterinary board as well. Karen started yelling about how unfair everything was, but security was already walking toward the lobby. She was escorted out still claiming her poodle was dying, even though the little dog looked perfectly healthy. The supervisor turned back to me with a smile. Supervisor, we kept your appointment slot open just in case. This was exactly what happened. The doctor can see you in 10 minutes. Receptionist, we've actually had this happen before. Some people think veterinary appointments work like restaurant reservations. The consultation went perfectly. The surgeon was able to recommend a treatment plan that would help my dog's mobility without requiring major surgery. As we left, I thanked the staff for their detective work. My dog is doing much better now with his new medication and physical therapy routine. I heard through the grapevine that the woman tried the same scam at 2 other veterinary clinics in town and got banned from both of them too. Some people really have no shame, but I'm grateful there are still honest people looking out for the rest of us. Story 4. I work at a mid-sized marketing firm downtown, and this year I volunteered to help organize our annual Secret Santa exchange. It's always been one of my favorite office traditions. Everyone draws names. We set a reasonable spending limit, and it's a nice way to spread some holiday cheer before everyone disappears for winter break. This year, our human resources manager decided to make things easier by having everyone submit wish lists to avoid duplicate gifts or awkward presents. The spending limit was $50, and people could list anything they wanted within that range. I thought it was a great idea since it takes the guesswork out of shopping for coworkers you might not know that well. I drew the name of a guy from the accounting department. We'll call him Dave. He's quiet, keeps to himself, but he's always been friendly when we've chatted in the break room. He's been with the company for about 5 years and recently got married to someone who works in a different industry. Dave's wish list was pretty straightforward: a nice pen set for work, the latest bestseller from his favorite thriller author, and a coffee mug with some kind of funny saying on it. I spent about $45 total and found exactly what he'd asked for: a sleek black and silver pen set, the new book by his favorite author, and a mug that said, "I'm not arguing, I'm just explaining why I'm right." Our Secret Santa party was scheduled for the Friday before Christmas break. The whole office was decorated, someone brought in cookies, and we had hot chocolate and coffee set up in the conference room. Everyone was in a great mood, laughing and guessing who their Secret Santa might be. We decided to do the gift exchange after lunch, so everyone gathered in the main office area. People were opening presents and showing them off, and there was lots of laughter and thank yous going around. When it was Dave's turn, he opened his gifts and seemed genuinely pleased. "Dave, this is perfect. I've been wanting to read this book for months, and I really needed a good pen set for client meetings." He held up the mug and read the saying out loud, which got a few chuckles from the crowd. "Dave, whoever my Secret Santa is, thank you. This is exactly what I wanted." That's when the conference room door burst open. A woman I'd never seen before stormed into the room, scanning the crowd until her eyes landed on Dave. She had shoulder-length blonde hair and was wearing an expensive-looking coat that she hadn't bothered to take off. "Karen, Dave, what is this about gifts from your coworkers?" Everyone turned to stare. Dave's face went pale. "Dave, honey, what are you doing here?" "This is just our office Secret Santa party." "Karen, I came to pick you up for lunch, and your receptionist told me about some gift exchange. She said you got presents from someone in your office." Her eyes swept the room and somehow landed on me. Maybe because I was standing closest to Dave, or maybe because I looked guilty, but she zeroed in like a missile. "Karen, was it you? Did you give my husband these gifts?" "Me? Well, yes, but it's just Secret Santa. Everyone participates." "Karen, Secret Santa, are you kidding me right now?" Her voice was getting louder, and I could see other coworkers starting to back away from the confrontation. "Karen, a luxury pen set, a book, a personal mug with an inside joke? These gifts are way too personal. What kind of game are you playing here?" "Me? They're not personal gifts. It's just Secret Santa. We all drew names randomly." "Karen, random. You expect me to believe you randomly chose to give my husband exactly the kinds of things he likes? This is completely inappropriate workplace behavior." Dave was trying to get her attention, but she was on a roll now. "Karen, I know what this is really about. Women like you think you can move in on married men by pretending to be thoughtful colleagues. Well, I'm not falling for it." The entire office had gone dead silent. Even the Christmas music seemed to have stopped. Everyone was staring at this woman who had crashed our party and was now accusing me of, what exactly? Having an affair through office supplies? Me, look, I understand this might seem weird from the outside, but I literally bought exactly what he asked for. We submitted wish lists to human resources. Karen, wish lists. What kind of office asks for wish lists? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That's when our HR manager stepped forward. She's this no-nonsense woman in her 50s who doesn't tolerate drama. HR manager, excuse me, but I'm the one who organized the wish list system. Everyone submitted their lists to me 3 weeks ago to avoid confusion and duplicate gifts. She walked over to her desk and pulled out a folder. HR manager, here's your husband's list, submitted on December 2nd. She held up a piece of paper with Dave's handwriting on it, listing exactly what I had bought him. Karen, that doesn't prove anything. She could have seen his list somehow. HR manager, the lists were confidential. Only I had access to them, and I gave each Secret Santa their person's list on the day names were drawn. Dave finally found his voice. Dave, honey, please stop. This is embarrassing. These are my coworkers, and they're just being nice for the holidays. But Karen wasn't backing down. Karen, nice. This whole thing is suspicious. Why would she spend so much money on you if there wasn't something going on? Me, I spent $45. That's under the $50 limit everyone agreed on. Karen, $50. You spent $50 on my husband. That's way too much for a coworker. At this point, people were starting to whisper to each other. I could hear someone say, she's crazy, and another person mutter, poor Dave. Our office manager, who's usually pretty diplomatic, decided he'd had enough. Office manager, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is a private company event, and you're disrupting our workplace. Karen, you can't kick me out. I'm protecting my marriage from this. This home wrecker. That was apparently the last straw for everyone. Several people started talking at once. Coworker 1. Lady, it's Secret Santa. We all participate. Coworker 2. She bought what he asked for. What's wrong with that? Coworker 3. You're being completely unreasonable. Karen looked around the room and seemed to realize for the first time that every single person was staring at her with disgust and disapproval. Her face turned bright red. Karen, you're all ganging up on me. Dave, we're leaving. Now. Dave looked mortified. Dave, I'm really sorry, everyone. I don't know what to say. He gathered up his Secret Santa gifts and followed his wife toward the door, but not before she turned around for one final outburst. Karen, this isn't over. I'm going to report this whole thing to corporate. After they left, the room was quiet for about 10 seconds. Then someone started laughing, and soon the whole office was buzzing with conversation about what had just happened. HR manager, well, that was interesting. Should we continue with the gift exchange? The party went on, but the energy was definitely different. Everyone kept talking about the woman who thought Secret Santa was a conspiracy to steal her husband. Dave didn't come back to work until after New Year's, and when he did, he apologized to me privately and thanked me again for the gifts. He said his wife felt terrible about what happened and wanted to apologize, but I told him it wasn't necessary. The pen set is still sitting on his desk, and I see him reading that book during his lunch breaks. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting entitled people make fools of themselves. Story 5. 3 years ago, I was deployed overseas serving my second tour in Afghanistan. I came back with a damaged knee, chronic pain, and what my therapist calls post-traumatic stress disorder. The physical injuries were obvious. I walk with a slight limp now and can't stand for long periods. The invisible wounds took longer to understand. After I got discharged, I struggled to find work that I could handle physically. My knee gives out without warning, and sitting at a desk all day makes the pain worse. I've had 4 different jobs since coming home, but none of them worked out long term. Either the physical demands were too much, or my anxiety would get so bad that I couldn't function properly. My wife works full-time as a nurse, pulling double shifts whenever she can. We have 2 kids, a 7-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. Between my disability payments and her salary, we get by, but it's tight. We qualified for food assistance about 6 months ago when I lost my last job. It was humbling to apply, but my pride wasn't worth letting my kids go hungry. Using the benefits card still makes me uncomfortable. I know I shouldn't feel ashamed. I served my country, and I'm legitimately disabled, but there's always this voice in my head wondering what people think when they see me use it. Last Tuesday was grocery shopping day. I had both kids with me since my wife was working a double shift. My daughter was helping me read the shopping list while my son rode in the cart. We were getting basics: milk, bread, eggs, some chicken for dinner, and cereal for the kids' breakfast. The store was busier than usual. When we got to the checkout lane, there were about 5 people ahead of us. My knee was starting to ache from walking around the store, but the kids were being good, so I didn't want to complain. When it was finally our turn, I started unloading the cart while the cashier scanned everything. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes who always worked the evening shift. "Cashier, how are you doing tonight? These two helping you shop?" "Me, they're great helpers, always making sure I don't forget anything." My daughter beamed with pride while my son tried to help put items on the conveyor belt. "Cashier, your total comes to $47.32. I pulled out my benefits card and swiped it. That's when I heard a loud scoff from behind me. "Karen, oh, great. Another freeloader holding up the line." I turned around to see a woman in expensive clothes with perfectly styled hair. She was looking at me with obvious disgust. "Karen, some of us actually work for our money, you know." I felt my face get hot. My daughter looked confused, and I could see other customers starting to stare. "Me, excuse me." "Karen, you heard me. I'm tired of paying taxes so lazy people can get free groceries." "Cashier, ma'am, please keep your voice down." "Karen, why should I? I work 60 hours a week while people like him live off the system." My hands were shaking as I tried to put my card away. My son was looking up at me with worried eyes. Karen probably never worked a day in his life. Just pops out kids and expects everyone else to pay for them. That's when the cashier stepped in. "Cashier, ma'am, this gentleman is a disabled veteran and a father of 2. If you're so concerned about his groceries, would you like to cover the cost yourself?" The entire line went quiet. Karen's face turned bright red. "Karen, how do you know that?" "Cashier, because he shops here twice a week with his children, and unlike you, he's always polite and respectful." "Karen, well, that doesn't mean." "Cashier, it doesn't mean what? That he doesn't deserve to feed his family? That his service to our country doesn't matter?" "Karen, I didn't know he was a veteran." "Cashier, would it have mattered if he wasn't? Do you think people choose to need assistance?" A man further back in line spoke up. "Customer, lady, just apologize and move on." "Karen, I don't have to apologize for speaking the truth." "Cashier, the truth is that you just harassed a disabled veteran in front of his children because you don't like poor people." "Karen, I never said anything about poor people." "Customer, you called him a freeloader and said he was lazy." Another person in line chimed in. Customer 2, "Yeah, we all heard you." "Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm a paying customer." "Cashier, so is he. His benefits are paid for by taxes, including his own when he was working." "Karen, whatever. This store has terrible customer service." She abandoned her cart and started storming toward the exit. "Cashier, ma'am, you forgot your groceries." "Karen, keep them. I'm never shopping here again." As soon as she was gone, the man behind us started clapping. Then the woman behind him joined in. Within seconds, the entire line was applauding. "Customer, thank you for your service, brother." Customer 2, "Don't let people like that get to you. You earned those benefits." My daughter looked up at me. "Daughter, Dad, why was that lady so mean?" "Me, sometimes people say things when they're angry that they don't really mean." "Cashier, here's your receipt. You have a good night, and don't let anyone make you feel bad for taking care of your family." She handed my son a sticker, which made him smile. Customer, seriously man, ignore people like that. My brother's a vet too. We know what you guys go through. As we walked to the car, I felt a mix of embarrassment and gratitude. I was humiliated that my kids had to witness that, but amazed at how strangers had stood up for us. That night, I told my wife what happened. "Wife, I'm proud of you for keeping your cool, and I'm glad there are still good people in the world." Me, the cashier didn't have to do that. "Wife, yes, she did. People like that woman need to be called out." My daughter has asked a few times since then why the lady was mean to us. I've tried to explain that sometimes people judge others without knowing their story. I hope she learns to be kinder than that woman was. I still shop at the same store. The cashier always smiles and asks how we're doing. I haven't seen that woman again, which is probably for the best. But I'll never forget how a stranger stood up for my family when we needed it most.